right. What's going on, guys?
Not too much. What's new in your world?
My world. Okay, so you know how we talked before about how Trap looks just like the trailer for Trap, that new M.
Mm.
Night Shyamalan movie was basically just like, hey, this is what happens in the movie. And
Mhm.
so Tony and I kept seeing like positive reviews and a lot of people talking about it, be like, it was great. And I'm like, why? So we had to just we it just was bugging us for a long time and we ended up watching it the other night and nope, nothing happened. It was exactly as marketed. And I was like, "What? What?" No, if you guys don't mind me spoiling it for you cuz I will.
Yeah, go for it. I've seen the
That's it.
trailer, so
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. There's nothing special. There's no twist. It wasn't like the daughter was in on it or anything. He was legitimately the killer and, like,
Mm,
he ends up basically escaping at the end, but, like,
mm.
it was it, and I was like, what why are people saying it's so good? Because you coulda just you coulda just seen the trailer and been like, "This is exactly as intended." That's it, and there's nothing else to it, and I was, like, waiting the whole time, and there was, like, half an hour, and, like, the FBI shows up at his house, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, he's gonna get caught," and then he has, like, some at some point, he, like, prepared for this, he has, like, a bag that was packed just in case this kind of thing happened or he's about to get, like, cornered, and he, like, built a he, like, dug a tunnel underneath his house that goes into the neighbor's house for a quick escape, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah," and then he finally gets caught, and, like, he's in the back of, an armored vehicle getting taken away by the FBI, and he's, like, in cuffs and, like but but before he left, because like, one of the things that like his that were I don't know, his the description of like who he was because there was like an FBI profiler and everything because he was supposed to be like elusive that they had to profile him and like get all his stuff down and one of the things was like oh he has OCD so before he left his home cuffed. He was like, "Oh, just let me pick up this bike real quick. One of my kids' bikes on the front lawn." And he like
Mm.
picked it up right. And while he did that, apparently he stole one of the spokes off of the bicycle wheel, and the FBI agents that were surrounding him did not see this. And I'm like, "Bro, it, how did he rip that off and, like, no one notice, right?
Oh.
You don't just like, ooh, let me just rip the spoke off a bicycle wheel real quick while no one sees anything." So, yeah, he does that, he hides it in his sleeve, and that's how he, like, bends it later when he's in the back of the van, and then, like, picks his way out of the handcuffs, and that's where the movie ends, and I'm like, "That was so whack."
Was
That's
it
crazy.
was the twist just that there wasn't a twist? Was he
I
trying to, like,
don't know.
trick people into expecting one?
I don't know. And then, of course, M. Night, because, like, one of his signature things is he has to be in the movie himself. So he was in it, of course, he did his little cameo, and the whole time I was just like, "Alright, man, just, give me something." Because he made, like, one movie that I thought was really good, which was Split. I really liked Split.
Mm.
Oh, I liked a lot of
Uh,
his early
yeah.
movies.
Oh, I feel like Signs was kinda good, the alien
Mhm.
one.
I think The Village is one of my favorites.
Oh,
Village
yeah,
was
The
really
Village
good.
was pretty good too. But I don't know, it's like, uh, Trap and there was, like, another one. Oh, I think I'm thinking of the plant one. What was that one?
The Happening.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one, but that one's pretty bad.
But I think that one's, like, just it's enjoyable because I think everyone knows what happens, and even if they haven't seen it, they're like, "Oh, okay, it's the plants, gotcha."
I don't I don't remember anything about this movie. I just had to look it up because I was, like, drawing a blank on anything about it. I don't recognize this.
The
Was
Which
it
one?
Happening?
yeah, I don't
Oh.
recognize it at all.
It played on TV all the time, which is why I've seen it a million times. But it's such a
I'm
weird casting of was it Mark Wahlberg and Zoe
Yeah.
Deschanel?
yeah,
Both
and
like
John
Yeah.
weird.
Leguizamo.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's in it too. Yeah,
Yeah,
What?
it's just like the
weird.
plants, like, give off some kind of thing that makes people wanna kill themselves. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So weird.
It's like a lot of the scenes are just they're supposed to be serious, but like, I found myself laughing a lot. Like, there was this one scene where, um, this car crashes, like, the driver I don't know, like, they get exposed to the air because it's, like, the spores from the plants are, like, get in the air, and then, like, that's how it travels to the people, and that's how they feel like they need to commit suicide all of a sudden. Then, it was like this person was driving, and he was driving a group of people, and then I think they were driving a like a soft top Jeep, and there was like a slit in the top that like opened up, and then the air came in,
Oh.
and that's when they became all exposed to it.
Mm.
And the driver crashes, but it was like I think it was like the person, the passengers here, or maybe it was the driver. He didn't die. Someone didn't die, but they got out of the vehicle, took some of the glass from the car crash, and just started cutting themselves.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I don't know why, but maybe it was the way it was shot or something, but I was like, I kinda laughed a little bit. I was like, "No, that's not funny," but I just the way they shot it didn't look serious.
Ben and I have like this reoccurring bit that it's not even like an intentional bit. We just keep forgetting we'll be referencing one of his movies. We're like, what's that one where it's just the beach that makes you old? And like it'll come up and we'll be like, what the hell is that movie called? Like we know we could describe, like we've never even seen it. We could tell you what it's about. And we'll go on and on and someone's be like, it's called old. I'm like, that can't be right. It can't be called something that stupid. And every time we have to look it up and be like, no, it is just called old. And it's happened enough times now that it's just if we refer to the beach that makes you old, we immediately know like what we're talking about.
Wait, like you actually look it up because you actually forget, or you look it up for the
Yeah.
bit? Oh.
No, we've forgotten many times. At this point, I think we'll remember, but it came up pretty recently, so it might also just be fresh in my memory. If you ask me again in like 6 months, I might forget.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen almost every M. Night Shyamalan because I did watch that one, and Old is just as it's the same as The Trap or whatever that is, where
Oh,
it's
is
like you
it?
see the trailer and you're like, okay, yeah, that's a beach that makes you old, and that's what the movie's about.
It's just a
It's like
beach that makes you old.
not that interesting.
There's not much more to it. My art teacher in middle school was in Lady in the Water.
Oh, really? I saw that one
Yeah.
too.
He was just like an extra, but I remember he like
That's
it was
cool.
one of the first days of school, and so he's like, "We're gonna do fun facts about ourselves," and it felt now in retrospect feels like someone who just really wanted to talk about how he was in that movie. And then I went home and I was only maybe like I must have been like 13 or something, and I was like, "I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch the movie because my art teacher's in it," and I don't remember it being very good. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. That's all I remember too. Like very I didn't think I hated it, but I just remember
Yeah,
going,
Yeah, I saw it once when I was pretty little. Another movie too that I saw that was made by M. Night Shyamalan was also Knock at the Cabin.
"Oh, I never saw that. What's
It's
that
the
one
one
about?"
it's literally where these 4 people knock at someone's cabin while they're just renting it out. It's, this family and, it's basically like okay, I would say it's better than Trap, but
Hmm.
it's not, like, great,
that bar is
but,
so low.
yeah, Rupert Grint's in it, but it's like this group of 4 people, and they show up and say the end of the world coming unless one of you kills the other. And then,
Oh.
like, as more time passes, they'll have the TV on, and then, like, they'll show, like, "Hey, look, there's all these, like, natural disasters that are occurring in, like, a more rapid way that doesn't seem natural." And, or, like, I think there was other stuff too, like, all of the plane like the computers that control the planes all went out to like all flights that were currently like currently occurring just like dropped out of the sky, so like stuff like that. And they're just like, see, the more time that passes, the more bad things that are going to happen if one of you doesn't kill the other. And then
Oh.
it's like pretty much the whole time they're just like, I don't understand, how are you going to convince us, you're strangers, we don't know you, this could be anything, like the news says bad things happen every day, like, and I don't know, it was just like I said, better than Trap, but still not great. I Me personally, I think my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie would probably have to be Split, but that's like for me, that's like peak M. Night.
Yeah, he really should have probably just like stopped after that.
It seems like
I
he's
feel
got
like
more of these crazy ideas in him.
but they're not very good. That's the problem. At least for a while there, I felt like he had like a 50-50, like decently solid versus like kind of bad. I feel like just looking at his list and like the last several, it's just like these are not good.
What about
I
Evil Elevator? You ever see that
Oh
one?
my god, that one was bad. That one was funny. It was really funny. I remember
I
seeing it in theaters and there was, like, this scene. Have either of you seen that?
Yeah, I think I
no.
saw it.
So for Hannah, this
Oh.
it's like a group of people that get stuck in an elevator, and one of them is what? It's supposed to be like the devil, right?
I thought the
Or
elevator
something
was
like
the
that?
devil or something. I don't
Oh,
remember.
I thought okay, I'm not
I
sure. It's
don't
been a while
remember.
since I've seen it, but it like, one of them is supposed to be possessed by
Mm.
some entity of some kind. I thought it was supposed to be the devil, and, like, basically, each of them get killed off, but they're trying they cannot figure out for until, like, the last, I wanna say 3 people, the who it is. It's like you're in an elevator and it's like, "Oh, yeah," like, the lights go out all of a sudden and then someone dies, and I'm like, I just feel like you can still feel around. Like, there's
Yeah.
something else if you just can't see it's such a small space, and I feel like you would have other clues. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
This movie poster looks super familiar, and I don't know if I've watched it or if we've talked about it before. Yeah, that's a tiny elevator. You could definitely,
Yeah.
like, you could tell.
Oh yeah, he did Sixth Sense. I forgot. That's like one of his.
Oh, never mind, that was probably peak. I think his daughter is starting to direct movies, so we'll see how she does or if
Mm.
she might kinda follow the same route.
Okay, I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes at the or his movies ranked by
Mhm.
reviews. And the first couple are exactly what you'd expect. Sixth Sense, Split, The Signs, Unbreakable, one called The Visit. I don't know that one.
Oh, wait, that one's actually not bad.
That's number
That one
5.
now I'm realizing I've seen a lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies. That one's about, like, 2 kids that are gonna go visit their grandparents, and then it was like,
Oh,
spoiler alert, it's not their grandparents.
that's crazy.
Um, but yeah, that one was not bad.
Well, then it falls off very quickly because after that it's Knock at the Cabin, and then Trap is number 7, which does not bode well for the rest of his movies.
Uh,
Dang, that's actually sad.
It takes like a pretty steep dive after that. The Happening has a 17%.
Wait, what
After Earth has a 12, and The Last Airbender has a 5.
is the
After
village on there?
Earth.
Yeah, it was somewhere in the middle.
Okay,
That was his number 10 at 43%.
okay, yeah, that's
Is
like my
After Earth the
fave.
one with Will Smith and his son?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. I
I
didn't
don't know
even
that I
know that was an
realized it
M.
was
Night movie.
Shyamalan.
Yeah. So pivoting here. Apparently this past weekend in New York City, there was a Timothy Chalamet lookalike
Yeah.
contest, and he just, like, showed up.
What?
Yeah.
That's did he win?
He didn't enter. He
Oh,
just showed up just to, like, be like, "Hey, guys." I don't even know if someone told I'm assuming someone told him about it, like, "Hey, look, there's a lookalike contest of you at the park. You should go check it out." And he's like, "Yeah." But, yeah, he just showed up, and then I guess, like, a few people while they were there got arrested for some reason. It does I From what I found, it doesn't tell me why they were arrested, but it's just, like, people who look it's just these pictures of people who look like Timothy Chalamet just getting cuffed.
I think I saw that. I think that they were just getting arrested because they were basically having a formal quote unquote event in a public space that they hadn't like reserved in any capacity.
Oh.
Because then they got
oh.
kicked out and went and did the rest of it somewhere else, I guess. I found out because I saw one of those reels that was like, I'm passing the phone to blah blah blah. And it was like I'm passing the phone to someone who looks like Timothy Chalamet, but then it's just 6 different people who pass the phone around. I was waiting for him to show up in it. I was pretty bummed that he didn't.
That would freak me out if I was in a place where there was just like a bunch of people that looked kind of like me. Like, I don't think I would show up. I'd be like, that's scary.
How scared would you be if you just walked in on it, though?
I would feel
It's me.
crazy.
Have you
I would
guys ever
definitely
had a
think
doppelganger?
I've had people tell me I look like people, but it never, you just know your own face so well. You're like, no, I don't.
Yeah. I had one lady try to fight me. Sort of. She was like weirdly insistent about it. I went to go. My mom was well, so she still lived in the area, and I went to go visit her at work. And her coworker came into the break room while I was chatting with her, and she like stops and she looks at me. She goes, "Are you my niece?" And I was like, "No, I'm literally here with my mother, your coworker. We've met before." And she's like, "You look just my niece. Like, are you sure?" And I was like, "I'm sure. Are you?" And like she just kept pushing it. It was really weird.
insistent.
Seems like you should know what your niece looks like better.
Yeah. And sounds like it's not a trick. I promise.
Like, why would she be at work with you?
Yeah, there was only one instance where I've found that two people that I knew looked like each other, and then they showed up in the same place, and I was like, I made them look at each other. I was like, "Hey, look at each other. Do you guys think you look the same?" And they're like, "No." But then everyone else was like, "No, they look the same." But I don't know. That's it. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a. I don't know. Maybe when my niece grows up, she'll probably look like me.
Mm.
I found that I look like a lot of some of my cousins. Um, or now that I'm getting older too, like I'm looking like how I remember them when they were my age now. So I'm like, oh, that's probably it's weird though too, because it's like cousins and stuff. I'm sure that if I had a sister, she and I would probably look very similar, but actually no, there was I guess my doppelganger really would be my brother because there was one time my sister-in-law put like this there was like a I don't know if it was like an Instagram filter, a Snapchat filter, or something that was like change your gender or something like
Mhm.
that. My sister-in-law used it on my brother, and it just gave him long hair, and he was just cheesing, and I was like, "That's me. That's just me." And I
True.
showed Tony, and he was like, "That's crazy."
I'm trying to find a picture of my sister and I. Personally think that we look very similar. I mean, we look related, but like I don't think you would mistake the two of us.
I had a photo once of where I had my hair pulled back and I looked a lot like my mom. She has like very short hair and it was like I had like more highlights in at the time. It is weird how like certain angles or certain like things can make you like see the family resemblances.
But I think I look very different from my three siblings. Like my brothers look pretty similar, and then my sister and my younger brother look very similar. Amy had to cut her hair when she was in boot camp, and like she and my brother look almost identical.
Did you guys ever get like celebrity doppelgangers? Like someone said he looked like a celebrity?
I pretty recently got Anna Taylor Joy. Is that right? The chess person. I think just
Yeah.
because my eyes are wide set, but
Hmm.
it was like super flattering. I like walked into a coffee shop and this girl was like, "Do you know who you look like?" I was like, "No." She told me, and I was like, "I don't think that that's right, but I appreciate it nonetheless."
What about you, Riles?
No, I don't really remember if I've ever got the only one I can think of was when I was little. I got one of the Fanning girls. I think whatever the older Fanning is, because she was a little girl at the time, and I think it was like one of my, I don't know, somebody who was like older, like an adult or something, was like, "Oh, you look like," but I think it's just because I had that same colored hair and was a child.
I can kind of see it though, kind
Yeah.
of in the like the face shape.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it must have been Elle. I think she's the older one. I used to be
No,
blonder. They're very
Dakota.
blonde.
I think it's
Dakota's the
Dakota.
older one.
Oh, is
Yeah.
she?
Yeah,
They look the same.
yeah, they look pretty
They do look
similar.
similar, yeah.
My mom is a twin, and I do remember being like a kid and mistaking my aunt for my mom, like when they were just like both around. That
Yeah.
was like, I think that's disorienting.
Yeah, for
Although
sure.
as a kid, you probably mistake a lot of adult people for your parents.
I say my dad is like just this really like he's worked in like trees his whole life, and so he's like super jacked and just like really tall guy, really strong, and like very distinct look. So it's one of those people that like almost nobody looks like him, And then every once in a while, I'll be just like out somewhere and someone is just like built exactly the same way as him. And it always throws me for a loop. Like I always have to go and like look at their face to be like, I'm sure it can't be him.
My mom had, 5 brothers and sisters, so 3 of them were her sisters and 2 brothers, so it was, like, all of her sisters really they all looked alike, except my mom was the youngest and her oldest sister, they were the ones that looked the most like each other, but the oldest aunt, like, that one that looked the most like her, she scared me, she was, like, the strict one, and
Ooh.
she scared all of us, like, it was we were like, "Oh god, auntie's here, we gotta, like" you gotta, like, you fix your posture, you gotta be very proper, and, like, so when I was younger, I took piano lessons, and I took them for a while, and I was nervous that whenever we had to go to her house because I she would always have me perform some piano piece, so I
Oh
would
my
be really
God.
scared, so, like, before we'd have to go over there, I'd be like, "I have to practice because 'cause you're like my mom would be like, "Hurry up, we gotta go." Or like, "I have to practice, auntie's gonna yell at me if I don't get this right." And so, like, that was what I would have to do. And there was one I remember one time we were visiting someone with that aunt and uncle, and, I got up in the morning, and someone was making breakfast, and I went up to my aunt because, like, from, like, the back, I thought it was my mom. So I went up there and I was like, "Mom, I wanna do this." And I saw it was my aunt, and she was, like, perfectly fine with it. She didn't think it was weird or anything, but I was just like, "Oh, hi." And, like, I was really scared. This is like, "Oh god, I did not address her correctly." Because like, when I'm telling you she was, like, a very strict person, it was, like, very old school, like, she was very, like, big on, like, etiquette and stuff. She was an older lady, and so, like, she was, like, very I don't know, everything had to be proper, put in its place, and she was all about that kinda stuff, so I was, like, super scared of her all the time. And, but yeah, like, when I did that, I was, like, freaked out, and then I told my mom about it, and she was laughing about it, but, um, yeah, that's pretty much like, my mom and her sisters, they just looked so similar.
I don't know if it's like an old lady thing. Did any of your relatives, for me, it was my grandma, uh, do the like plastic covered couch?
Yeah.
I don't know who, but yes, like I've been in a house where that happened. I don't have like a person to associate it with though. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking like the strict family member. It was my dad's mom and she was just like she didn't want kids on her furniture. She didn't want the kids like playing too hard in certain rooms. And so she would just like protect everything when we come over. It was like we could just not be here. Like so we'd have to sit on the couch if we watched a show or something with her and you just sit on like the thickest plastic you've ever seen.
And it's like doesn't it like squeak or something?
Oh, it's
Like
so
rubs against
Yeah,
loud.
each
it's
other.
Yeah.
loud and so uncomfortable and, like it
So
just
gross.
doesn't make any sense, man. It's like you're putting your all of your stuff behind well, plastic, but it's like it's weird. It's like just live in it. I don't know, like use it. It's furniture. It's gonna
Yeah.
I don't get it. It doesn't it's never made any sense to me. It's so strange. And it's like also those same people have well, not all the time, but I think majority of the time I've seen those same people will be like their bathrooms will be like carpet everywhere. And I'm like,
Ooh.
"Oh, ew."
What about the toilet seat cover that's fuzzy? That's like a grandma thing
Yes.
too.
It was
Mhm.
pink
Yeah.
and fuzzy.
Yeah,
Pink and
what the
fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was a universal experience.
for sure. Yeah, I'll never understand the plastic. I'll never understand I don't know, I just it doesn't make sense to me. I like, does that person ever feel comfortable in their own home? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's made to use, to live in. I
I
Yeah.
don't
think
get
it's
it.
also that like formal hosting space versus just like living in your own house. You know, it was the living room where like they never used that room when they didn't have guests over, but because we were over and we were technically guests, they like would have us in that space. And like I guess we have a living room that's like kind of it's not formal though. It's just empty. We don't have anything in there. But like I don't care. Do what you want.
I just feel like as a guest, I would just feel so uncomfortable just like having to not I don't know, touch anything because they're gonna like
Yeah.
freak out if you do. So I'm like, why even let us in? Why even have guests? Doesn't make sense.
She was mean though. Old Catholic Irish, real stereotypical in that sense. I was telling Ben about this. This is only kind of related in the sense that it was my grandma. I was telling Ben recently where I was like, whenever she would babysit for us. And so we'd go over their house, dad would drop us off, and then we'd hang out for a meal or whatever while dad ran errands. She would make fish sticks.
Mm.
Or at least that's what she told me she was making. Because then as I got older, I like in retrospect think about it and I was like, there was no way that that was fish. It like was almost like sweet. Like it wasn't like chicken tenders or anything. Like I don't know what it was. It was something fried, and all I can assume was that it was like so fake that it just had a totally different flavor. But then I don't remember where I was, but I smelled it and I was like, well, someone somewhere has whatever fake fish sticks I had growing up as a kid. I tried to hunt them down, but I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And I've never smelled it again. I don't know what it is.
Did it like transport you back to your
Yeah,
grandma's house? Yeah.
I didn't even like fish as a kid either. So like I don't know why she was feeding us that. Like I genuinely think it must have just been like some kind of freezer meal thing, and that's what she told us it was.
Hmm.
It's weird. I feel like I very rarely get those like smell memories and I can never put them to a thing. Like I always just smell something and I'm like, "Oh my God, what is that?" But I can never connect the dots. And those are like the weirdest memories, smell memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about pinpointing those things, but this is just a weird. That's the only thing. Like that's why I assume that it wasn't really fish, is because I've never smelled this smell ever again.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in the same boat as you, Riley. Like I feel like there are a lot that will make me feel like, oh, this is triggering a memory of some kind, but I can't pinpoint what it was, where it was, but I'm just like, this is familiar. But like not like, oh, I smelled this last week or something like that. So it'd be like it, I don't know, it'd be like a certain time of year. Like I don't know what it is about fall. I think it's like rainy fall.
Hmm.
But I always get like this weird trigger memory of some like a time when I was a kid, but like I can't remember exactly what was happening. I'm just like that I was a kid. So something I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe I spent a lot of time outdoors in rainy fall weather when I was a kid, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Also, segue to being a kid. My brother actually told me this story about one of my niece's friends' friend. So, one of her friends got this new friend, and they're in first grade, and this first grader is she's becoming a problem at first, like in first grade. So I can't imagine what she's gonna do when she reaches middle school, high school. But she devised this plan to meet her friend in the middle of the night, sneak over to her house, and they were just gonna leave, sneak out and go do whatever. And that was it. Um, and she was able, this girl was able to, like, her house had a security system. She was able to unman it, sneak out of her home, sneak over to her friend's house, which is my niece's friends. And then when the dad came out and was like, he heard something like on the porch. He was like, "The heck is that?" But he was like, he thought someone was walking, and it was like almost 10 or something. And he was like, "You're not expecting anyone this late." So he went outside to check and didn't see anyone at first. And the little girl was hiding in one of their bushes out front. And she stood there for a
Oh
while.
my
And then he ended
God.
up finding her and was like, "What are you doing here?" And she's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to meet, your daughter." Like he said her name. And he's just like, "No, it's too late. You got to go home. You got to tell your parents." Like it was like, "What's happening?" But yeah, and she's only in first grade. And she started, apparently, she's been like lying to her parents' faces, like straight up when something is happening. She'd be like, "Oh, so and so is not here," but they'll be like, she'll like hide them in her closet or something, like a little girlfriend of hers, and they're just sitting there like eating snacks and watching like YouTube and stuff that they're not supposed to be watching or whatever. And then like her parents will find out later on. I'm like, she's only in first grade. My
Wow.
goodness. So yeah, I thought that was weird because I'm like sneaking out. I didn't even think about doing that until until I was maybe in high school. I don't know. I didn't really even do it that much. Maybe like once. But yeah.
I think like the worst thing I did at that age was I think I stole my cousin's Game Boy game. Like that's the worst thing I can think of.
Yeah.
That's
That's
scary.
wild.
Yeah,
Right?
like I'm scared of her as an adult. I'm scared of that child.
Yeah, like, what is she gonna do, man? It's crazy. She's, like, starting to form these plans, and it's even though she's not getting anywhere and she's not able to execute them, she's getting close. I just can't imagine what she's gonna do in a few more years.
Well, but
But
how far is she? So like how far away do they live from each other? How far is she going?
other neighbors.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, that would be crazy. That would be crazier if it was, like, a few streets over or something.
Yeah. That's what
But
I was imagining. I was like, Jesus.
She
but
goes on a hike.
I don't know what their plan was for, like, if she successfully got her friend out. Like, where were they gonna go? What were they gonna do? I mean, they're little first graders, like, the heck?
How do
You
they
know what
even
I
stay
mean?
up
So
that late? I feel like I would
yeah.
be like, I don't know. I feel like I'd be just like, I feel like I did not stay up when I was in elementary school. It'd be like 9 p.m. and I'd be like, oh, I'm still awake.
Yeah. I mean, especially
Mm,
at that age too, I feel like my parents, like, made me so scared to even try something like that, I wouldn't even, like, have thought to do it at all. I don't think I would even been able to have talked any friends into doing that either. Be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna meet you at your house at, like, 10:30." I don't even don't think that the plan would even come together if when I
yeah.
was in 1st grade, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I was like bad at saying no as a child, so if one of my friends said that, I'd probably be like, okay. But like none of my friends would have suggested that. Plus
Yeah.
I live like in the middle of nowhere. No one could have walked to me, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why I was imagining her like traveling because I lived in the country as a kid. So I was like, sneak out of your house and go where? Like the
3
closest
miles.
neighbor's a mile down the road. The speed limit's 55 miles an hour around blind corners. Like I'm not making it
No
very
street
far.
lights, yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid
Yeah.
of the dark. I'm 6.
True.
From what I know in their neighborhood, there wasn't really much anywhere, like, nearby them other than maybe, like, a park, but it was, like, a couple miles away, so, like, that's still far, like, I for little for little 1st grader legs, like,
Yeah.
at night.
Worse too, because I feel like they would just wander.
Yeah.
Like if there was a park nearby that they could safely get to, then at least like obviously it's not good, but you'd know where to like go find them. But
Yeah. 'Cause it's just I
ooh,
mean, it's just, like, more like suburbs and stuff, but that was it, and so my brother was telling me about it, and he was just like, "Yeah, so, like, we're, like, a little worried because like, what if she starts influencing, her friend, and then your niece starts getting into trouble, and then, we're like, what do we do now? Because now she's hanging out with this girl too." So and I was like, "Yeah, that's not good," but I was like, "Maybe they're not even gonna meet." I don't know, who knows?
Hmm.
We'll see.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that seems like a combination of both a kid who's got like regulation issues and parents who aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, hopefully, other kids' parents are like that dad is just gonna be like, no,
Mhm.
you can go home, and my kid isn't leaving the house at 10 p.m.
Yeah. I thought it was insane. I was like, I was shocked when he was telling me this. I mean, I'm sure that there are crafty first graders all over the place, but I've never heard of that before. I just feel like that's something that kids do when they're older. Like, and even then, of course, you're not going to be happy as a parent no matter what. But like, I don't have kids, but I just feel like I would be much more be like acceptable to hear like my kid that's like 16 is doing that rather than like my first grader. That freaks me out. But like I cannot fathom like there's so many things. They don't know what they're doing. I mean 16-year-old too, but like more so than a first grader. Come on.
Yeah. Also,
That's
like lots of kids
crazy.
are dumb. I could see like a 6-year-old doing that, not realizing not realizing that it was a bad thing.
Mhm.
But like, it sounds like that's not the case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was plotting.
Yeah, man, because she knows, right? That's why she's like devising the plan, and so it's like that's the other scary part too, is that she's creating these she's fucking the wheels are turning in like bad ways already. She's so little.
That's something I never thought of when I was a kid, but I feel like I think about a lot now is like when you have kids, like they make friends and then they have parents. And like how much like are you, because like if you are a parent and you have a friend who has children, like a lot of times your children will play together and be friends to some degree a little bit. But then like what if like you had a child and they made friends with someone and you had to like see their parents and their parents just like sucked? Like you can't be like, don't hang out with them because I hate talking to their parents. Like you just have to like, I don't know. I feel like you'd be put in so many like weird situations with people that you don't like just by being a parent.
I don't know that it's better or not. My mom was very upfront about that kind of stuff. If she
Really?
didn't like the parents, she would just like not interact with them. And there was a couple times where she's like, "I don't like that kid. Don't hang out with them." It's like, I'm 6. Don't do that. That's weird. But
I
like I had a friend growing up who their parents were like trying to convert me as a
oh
child.
my
They like
god.
kept they'd be like, "If you ever want to come to church with us, like just let us know. We'll take you anytime." And I was like, I'm down to hang out with my friend. Like, if you guys are going to church and you're inviting me because she'll be there and I can hang out with her, sure. But like, that's weird. And so my mom was not a fan of them. Uh, Usually when that happened, then it was always that they were allowed to come to our house, but I wasn't allowed to go to their house because the parents were
Mm.
weird.
See, if my parents did that, then they weren't like upfront about it, which I could totally see because they're a little bit conniving, I feel like. But they never like set it up front or never like I don't remember like stopping hanging out with anyone.
I don't think they ever stopped me from hanging out with anyone, but they'd stop me from spending time with their parents.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I can't remember a time. I don't know, my dad got along with all the other parents, but if it was one of my parents that wasn't gonna like someone else's parents, it would have been my mom. And I don't remember her ever being like, "No, you can't hang out with this kid because their parents are weird." But I feel like she would have definitely have said it if she didn't. So, but I don't because I don't remember. It's like but it was also so long ago. Maybe she did, and I just can't remember. But yeah, no, I just remember her getting along with all of my friends when I was little. Like their parents, she got along with all of them. Yeah, there were like a lot of times where like they'd be like I don't know, my mom would stay and, like, she'd drop me off at someone's house, and then she'd stay a little bit and chat with their parents, so I don't know, maybe I just got lucky or something, and I picked people that had parents that my mom got along with, I don't know. It wasn't like I said, my dad was like he got along with all of them, but my mom would have been definitely been like, "Yeah, no, you're never going to this person's house ever again." But it never happened.
I think my parents were just very antisocial people. They didn't want to hang out with my friend's parents. Was the problem.
That's like my mom, but my dad was like kind of like what you're saying about like he just anytime anybody was around, he'd just chat with them for, not like very long, but just, like as you're dropping off or picking up kids, he'd be like, "Oh, how's it going? What is this happening?"
So I was also like a goody two shoes as a kid, so like people were always thrilled that their kids were hanging out with me because I was like super well behaved rule follower, like studious, total nerd.
Yeah, I feel like I did that too. But I feel like I always picked other kids that were also like that. So we weren't ever like it was not like, "Oh, you're a good role model." It was like you two are both nerds. Like no one would have thought we were going to be sneaking out of anything.
Yeah, I think that was me up until maybe high school. Then I started branching off into kids that were to hang out with kids that weren't the best influences. But yeah, there's just one time I got we got caught sneaking out. It was like I was spending the night over at a friend's house, and she got the bright idea that she was like, "Yeah, let's sneak out now, and we're gonna meet up with some boys, and we're just gonna hang out at the park nearby." And I'm like, "Okay, if you want to." And that just happened to be the night that, like, her parents were, like, really invested in where we were. Because normally it's like whenever I would spend the night, they would just leave us to our own devices. It was very easy for it would have been very easy for us on any other occasion, any other
Hmm.
evening to sneak out and do whatever. But it just happened to be that night. And that night she called my dad and was just like, "Hey, I think our daughters are doing something they shouldn't be doing. Do you want to come and look for them?"
Oh my
So
God.
dad, yeah, my dad drove over, picked up her mom, and they drove around the neighborhood looking for us, and they found us when we were walking back to her house,
Ooh.
Oh,
and
that's
yeah.
That's good it
That
wasn't
was
with the boys, though.
Yes, that's true. It wasn't with
True.
the boys. It was just us, and we lied and said it was we were just yeah, we just wanted to go for a late night walk, and they were just like, "Yeah, you have to tell us if that happens. You're still not you're still kids, like, you can't be doing this." We're like, "Okay, okay." And, like, um, my mom was really, like, the person who gave the discipline, so, like, on the way home the next day, like, my dad picked me up and I was like, "Okay, you're not gonna tell mom, right?" And he was like, "No, but if you do it again, I feel like I'm gonna have to tell mom." And I was like, "Okay, I'm never gonna do it again." And that was pretty much the only time I ever got caught sneaking out or adjacent related sneaking out.
My mom was really pretty chill about that kind of stuff. I never did. I mean, I would just be like, "I'm leaving," and she'd be like, "Okay, be safe. Call me if you need anything." But my friends would sneak out of their houses and then just come hang over at my house, and my mom would be like, "All right, well, if they call, I have to tell them." But like, I guess it's fine. You're not. Again, I'm a nerd. Like they're just coming over to hang out and play video games or whatever. Like, so she wasn't really worried about them. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that she really knew what to do when that happened. I had a friend once who, the first time she ever smoked, I don't remember if it was because she smoked weed or if it was like a more of a hallucinogenic. I don't remember. But it was while I was in high school, and she called me. She got lost walking to my house. Like
Oh.
she had met up with a friend halfway who brought the drugs with him. They did them, and then she was like, "I'm gonna go to Hannah's house because like she'll be a person that can take care of me and like make sure things are safe." And she got lost. She calls me crying, and it's like, "I don't know where you are. I don't know where I." And she's like describing where she is, and I'm like, "You're like 2 blocks away from my house. Like you're literally on an incredibly main street. It's a straight shot between our houses. How did you get lost?" And so she's like describing where she is. I was like, "You're literally like behind my house. You're not lost." And so I'm like on the phone in my bedroom trying to like talk her through this bad trip.
Oh, no.
And literally we're just like gave her directions because she was within stone's throw from my back door. And I think she like hung out in our like fell asleep in our living room or something like that. Like whatever it was, she just like passed out in our house.
I've never done I've never done drugs, so I can't imagine, like, the level of I don't know, it's mainly just because I don't know what to expect, and that part makes me very anxious, so I'm just
Mhm.
like, "How much more if I do it?" You know what I mean? And then I'm just gonna be, like, freaking out, and who knows where I'm gonna be, so, like, I'm just gonna be possibly alone, freaking out, and then I just don't know what's gonna happen. But I've had friends who have done some things and then, I'll hear stories about it afterwards, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's just reinforcing me that, like that, like, I'm good with my decision," you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I did acid once, and I feel like it was similar to where like you're saying she got lost and she wasn't that far away. I remember walking, me and my friend were walking, and it felt like we had been walking like in the woods forever, like on this trail, and we
Mm.
saw like a marker, and it was like point 0.1 miles, and we were like, "No." And like we had to like sit down multiple times as we were going. We're like, "Oh my God, we've been walking forever." And there was like so many other people around, and I was like, "Wait, we only went 1.1 mile?" Like, and then I did start freaking out that everyone was like looking at us. And I was like, "We gotta go back to the campsite." So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, I wouldn't recommend if you're anxious.
I've also never done any drugs, but I know a lot of people who have, and it's always just been one of those like, yeah, same thing where it's like they'll be either actively going through something or they'll tell me about it later. And I'm like, I'm fine. Like I'm perfectly happy just like watching you do your thing. I'm happy to be a sober person. Like have a great trip. I'll chill here. Let me know
Yeah.
if you need some water.
Yeah, that's the one thing too. I just learned from all those people that there's a lot of, fluid intake, so I'll be like, "Hey, man, hit me up. You need what? I'll bring gallons because that's what I've heard. I've heard that people get very thirsty, so I will be ready. I will be there with some water for you." I mean, when it comes to alcohol, though, it's a different story. Hannah was there when I used to drink a lot, but I don't drink that much anymore. I used to drink like a fish, and that was bad. It would just basically be anytime anyone had inserted alcohol into the equation, just be like, "Do you want to take a shot?" And then that's it. That's all it takes, and then it just gets it just escalates. So, like, when people see me now and they like that's not what I immediately say, and I'm just like, "I have, like, like, a hard seltzer," or, like, then that's, like, 2. They'd be confused because 'cause they'll, like, the last time they drank with me, it'll be like, "That was back then," and they'd be like, "You don't want shots?" I'd be like, "No, I can't do shots anymore. Are you crazy?"
Oh my god. It's so hard to do shots.
Yeah.
Once you stop, it's just you never want to go back. It's so awful.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a wild time because I don't drink a lot and I didn't even when I was younger, but like I could keep up with people pretty well. Like I was very good always from the beginning of like pacing myself. Then I met Melody and we drank together one time and I got more drunk than I've ever been. I
Yeah.
just sat on the stairs and kind of like stared into the distance because I was focusing so hard on not just like tipping over.
Well, I think we also were drinking wasn't it we were drinking was it
Rum.
rum? And you were not really into rum and it something
I
like
think
that?
rum just sneaks up on me. I
Mhm.
think that's what I learned eventually was like one of the ones is that I could drink a bit of it and like not really feel anything, and then all of a sudden I felt all of it. And we'd done like 6 or 7 shots in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. I used to be able to do, like, 6 or 7 shots in, like, an hour and a half, and then I'd just be like, "Let's go." There was one
Oh,
time I have one story for you guys, which maybe Hannah's heard this before, I don't know if Riley has, but there was one time we were, like we had this little bonfire in one of our friends' backyards, and, I drank so much so early and, like, took a nap by the bonfire. I just passed out, so tired. Probably an hour passed, and people are just, like, pacing themselves, cruising, enjoying the fire. It was nice, and then I woke back up, and I thought it was a brand new party. I was like, "Guys, let's go and take more shots," and they're like, "Are you insane? This doesn't make any sense. You just took a nap, and how are you still have all that alcohol in your system, like, it's only been an hour." And I was like, I'm a brand new woman, guys. That's a whole new game. But yeah, no, that's exactly how it was back then, and I definitely have had to slow down. Like I said, 2 hard seltzers and I would call it a night. Back then it used
yep.
to be 7 plus shots and then maybe some mixed drinks and then some other stuff too, but yeah, can't do that anymore. Too old.
Too old. Too M. Night Shyamalan's old.
Exactly.
It's just like the island that makes you old, guys. Yeah, I got invited to not my first college party, but to a college party this last weekend. I did not end up going, just for as a spoiler to how the story ends. But I got invited by a bunch of the guys. They're all freshly 21, so they're
Mm.
excited because they can buy their own alcohol. And they're like, "Yeah, we spent $200 on alcohol." First of all, they're like really excited about it. They're like, we bought however many 30 racks. We bought 2 bottles of Tito's. We bought a bottle of what like they're listing all these like hard liquors and cheap beer. And they're like, and also we bought 2 bottles of wine. And I was like, okay, like I'll drink the wine. And so they were like, oh yeah, we got her. Like she's coming to the party. So we were hanging out in the morning. There was like a sports meet going on, and we all go home to like chill for a little bit and do homework, whatever. And then we were gonna reconvene. And I was home. I got dressed and I was like putting on makeup and like just kind of generally being ready. And it was like 5 or 6, and I was like, I'll hang out, make some dinner, like chill for a little bit, and then head over. And then I realized as I was doing it, I was like, I'm thinking like someone my age, where it's like start by like 8, so you can be done by 11 at the latest, and everyone's home by midnight.
Mhm.
And I realized that as I was making dinner at like 6 o'clock, and I texted my friend who's also younger, and I was like, I need you to be really honest with me right now, and I know this is gonna make me sound super old. What time do college parties start? And she's like maybe 10, probably 11, and I was like, I'm not going. I'm gonna go to bed. Like I'm tired. It's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna be in bed by 8. Uh, and then I got a text at 11:45 that they started the party, and I was like, "Fuck no!" I'm
No.
so glad I didn't go.
That's
I
funny.
usually don't mind hanging out with the people that are that much younger than me, but that was the moment where I was like, "Oh, okay, nope, there's a gap. There's an age gap. I'm going home, guys."
All right. Well, until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.